stepped up from being a player to a manager, when did you first notice the difference in the pressures that the two different roles bring?
It's not a change of job, it's a lifestyle choice. You're literally 24/7. It's just that kind of occupation that, I know I've heard managers who say they try and switch off, but the reality is it's very difficult to. The people you work with or people you associate with, your friends, people you bump into, they all sort of, the conversation eventually gets around to what you do. I've often said to young managers who get into it that, you got to understand that if you don't embrace that side of it and learn to manage that side of it, you're going to find the existence very difficult, because there is never a moment where you can switch your phone off, because there could be a critical bit of news coming down that line and you've got to be responsible for it. So you've constantly got to be on alert.
Is that where you need your family to be understanding about it, because they need to accept that you are football 24/7?
It doesn't mean that you don't have responsibilities at home, and anyone with young kids knows that they don't care at all what you've done during the day, whether you've won or lost. They still want the attention, and that helps you to switch off in that instance. So, and having an understanding partner is obviously hugely important again. But you've got to also make sure that you're devoting time to them, and because ultimately they're making the sacrifices. Because when I talk about lifestyle choice, it's not a lifestyle choice for me, it's a lifestyle choice for the family. So, to give you an example, we left Australia and moved to Japan, and from Japan we came to Scotland. Now, the kids had no say in it. My wife had to be supportive of that. So, again, having a strong family unit, and again, like I said, embracing that this is a lifestyle that we're going to go down, it definitely helps.
There must be times, though, where you felt that 24/7 nature, that pressure become almost too much. How have you coped with those moments? You
always have this competitive streak inside you. And again, something I tell young managers, that the pain of a loss in your first year doesn't diminish as the years go on. You still feel it. We lost, the semi-final to Rangers, and I had friends over here from Australia I haven't seen for 2 years. We had dinner organised after. I didn't turn up. My wife had to host them. Now they understand because they're my mates, and they still have a nice dinner in spite of that. But it's something that you kind of hope you learn to deal with better as you get older. The one thing I've always tried to focus on is that those moments, the tough moments, you've got to, whatever you feel, try and put an end to it in the best way possible for yourself, because then the next day you have responsibility to others.
You've been effectively an outsider coming in here. You were an outsider, of course, in Japan. In Japan, of course, you had the language issue as well. Has that made it more difficult at times? The
way I've coped with all those things is by having a really strong family unit. I've got a great group of friends that I've had since I was 8 years old. I haven't changed that. There's 5 of them, and we've kind of grown up together. So I haven't felt the need to expand my social circle, so that when we move to places, you miss people, but you don't need more people. The difficult bits and the challenging bits of what I do, I always counterbalance with, if you walk into a room of school kids who are 8 years old and you ask all of them what they want to be when they grow up, it's a real small percentage that realise those dreams. I'm one of those kids, so I always balance up the hard stuff with saying, well, you know what, I'm actually doing what I love.
How challenging can the abuse from the sidelines be for managers?
For me, I think what's tougher for managers is that, particularly now with social media and sort of the all-encompassing obsession with the game to have an opinion from every quarter, is that it doesn't stop at the end of the game. In the past, whatever sort of was coming from over the fence, you didn't like it and you still don't like it, but you could deal with it and then know that there's probably going to be 24 hours before the next day's newspapers come out where you have to deal with it again. But now the final whistle goes and you still have to deal with it, which I think it's why you see that, managers probably don't react as well to what's coming from the other side of the fence now, because it's constant. There's no respite from it. And again, you've got to be really strong in understanding that the opinions that really matter are the ones that you should really be affected by. I don't want to get abused by my own supporters, because then that means you're not doing your job well, and there's a reason for it. Even a supporter who may be abusing me, I've got to think for a second, what kind of weeks that guy had, Well, why is he, there must be a reason he's feeling this way, and you don't like it, but it maybe helps you understand.
Do you ever worry about young managers coming through and the mental toll it will take on them with the increased focus, scrutiny, debate?
Much tougher than sort of when I first started, even 25 years ago, because like I said, because of that constant. So if you're a young manager going into it and you kind of want to create something special or have these visions, it's tough, you know, and it's tough for players, it's tough for managers, it's tough for anyone who sort of does what they do in a public forum, because in that sense the world, like I said, has changed. If I was starting out again, I mean, like I said, I'm older now and I kind of think I deal with things well, but my advice to young managers is to get good people around them and actually get somebody within their staff who's going to be a bit of a sounding board for them, because I think you need it.
How do you carry the hopes of a nation on your shoulders and not let it crush you?
You've got to try and use it in a positive way rather than let it sort of bear down on you. Once you start thinking about your job security or your longevity in the role, then I think it becomes too overbearing, particularly in today's world. You know, I think you've just got to stay clear on why you do what you do. You love the fact that every weekend there's a game to be won and lost.